In the bright eyes of every newborn, there lies a spark, a potential for goodness, the possibility of a life worth living. That spark deserves a chance, and though most of those sparks will turn out to be just as worthless as the parents that birthed them, every now and then, one of them holds true to its goodness and truly deserves a chance at life. Ravencry, Blackwing, and Crowfall by Ed MacDonald, a trilogy set in the grimdark fantasy genre, are fantastic books set in what would be equivalent to the Renaissance age of our world, except in a much darker, more gritty setting, where six long-forgotten gods are marching on humanity, and humanity's only chance at survival are four weakened gods that are only using humanity for their own purposes. The main character, Ryholt Galharrow, is a perfect example of somebody who would be actually living in this world. Somebody who sees the horrors face on and are willing to fight against it. However, in the process, they've been changed and corrupted in a way that they no longer have the same innocence that one of us would. Ryholt sees the world in a very pessimistic sort of fashion and resorts to alcoholism and other bad habits as a way of coping with some of the stresses of his work as a mercenary in the world that he lives in. His best friend, Nen, is also a mercenary that works under him, and she would follow him to the end of the world. Her loyalty and goodness to some of the more poor people in this world really shows how in her background she had been betrayed in her past, and she would never do that to any of her friends that she really feels close to. And then the last member of his friend group, I guess, would be Noda, and he is a kind of a navigator in this world, as it's much easier to get lost in this world than in ours. And he would also follow Ryholt to the ends of the world, and they ended up doing that, however, in a different way than you might think. And this book, it really shows the grittiness of the setting. These heroes braving the odds against some of the darker things, turning humanity against itself, and twists and turns expose the hidden enemies of this book, showing that the evils don't always come from the outside, and eventually exposing those evils allows for a possible turning of the tides in the Millennial War at a bit of a price. I would highly recommend this book. It is fantastic to anybody who would be interested in the fantasy grimdark genre. However, I would not suggest it to anybody outside of that genre, as it can be a bit dark at times. However, it is perfect for people who very much like the fantasy and medieval aesthetic. It is a truly a treat to read, and I managed to get through all of the books in a matter of a few weeks, but I could have done it in a few days had I been given the chance. They were so good, and I was barely able to put them down.